today we'll try to understand some insights about event management. Why this is important is because because in a matured organizations which perhaps have the necessity to shipper industries especially, and also for LSPs. We'll come to LSPs as well. As we talk about shipper industries, we'll also talk about LSPs and their maturity and all that stuff. But simply understanding the importance of the event management arises from the perspective of the contractual obligations which the parties have. So the necessity of event management stems from the penalties or contractual obligations or commitments and this kind of stuff. So it results from that. If it was not any contractual, serious contractual obligations and so on and so forth, then perhaps one would not be interested much to track. I mean, when you see that, okay, the carrier will take the goods and he will deliver it, there ends the matter. So you don't really care much. But then when the legal implications are quite serious, then definitely it's not just LSP but also shipper. The obligation of tracking the tracking various events. As I was telling yesterday, typically the tracking of these events could be from a product standpoint or a material standpoint or a vehicle standpoint or a package standpoint or a handling unit standpoint, whatever it is. Any business object which is a product kind of a thing or a material kind of a thing, that is one tracking related object. The other one typically is basically the process or a document itself, tracking of the status of the document and so on and so forth. So what needs to be tracked is something which the business would decide, and what events have to be handled over a period of your completing your business obligation of transportation is something which the business would decide in terms of what to be tracked and so on and so forth. Now, from an event management set, talking about the software itself, I mean, basically actually there's a maturity path which is in the process right now in terms of event management. There is another tool called Global Track and Trace, right? That is it's a cloud-based tool. It's more mature tool which is being offered in the cloud by SAP, and it is gaining traction in terms of better features and then collaborative multi-party collaborative form. So it has got a different features, advanced features, and it has it also has these the latest of course it has the big data, and then the machine learning and all those capabilities, SAP Leonardo capabilities also embedded into it. So it has got little advanced functions and all that stuff. And being in cloud, the release of any newer functionalities which SAP provides is much faster. So it is so that is that. But SAP event management has been there for the event management as such has been there for quite some time. I mean, in different versions and forms and all that kind of stuff. So maybe about a couple of decades or something like that. So it's been there. As the current version of 9.2, which is on-premise version. So that is something which will be supported until 25. So which means that in the next 3 years, even EM will be there the 9.2 version will be there. And beyond that, until then, I think they will migrate to SAP GTT or something like that. So that is something which is from the tool perspective. So what is there in SAP Event Management, or rather, what exactly happens and why is it that it is important? So as you can see, basically, you have the intention is basically to map the real world processes or activities or events into a system. Important data points in the real world or in the process need to be identified and fed into the event management system, so that what does it do basically? So it probably does some controlling activities because of the data which has been fed to it, and it will have the capability of tracking and tracing also. So we'll talk about tracking and tracing, what is the difference and all that stuff a little later. So it could provide those facilities by virtue of pulling that data in the backend system also. It could be HANA or TM, and then process it in the event management system and control, track and trace, and provide the visibility in terms of what's going on with that particular object which has been chosen to be tracked. So that's the thing, and therefore certain features which event management does is basically the monitoring aspect based on the object which is chosen. So one has to choose what we'll see in the system, what sort of objects probably are there and which need to be. And for this, typically you have an EM consultant working on the S4 side and also on the EM side. And typically, as suggested by SAP, this event management system has to be there on a separate server. So it has to be maintained in a separate server and all that stuff. So it wouldn't be in the same server as S4HANA. So this is recommended by SAP. So it's like a separate system. Okay, and there's got to have integration. It probably would be the logical system of event management has to be mentioned, has to be applied in the NetWeaver stack. It should be mentioned in the solution manager and so on and so forth. The basis work or admin work will certainly be there. Anyway, now looking at the functions. So what does this event management do basically for us from a TM standpoint? So it does tracking and tracing, monitoring part. So that is one aspect which is its function, and and it does give notification based on certain rules which are there. We'll see what sort of rules might be there and how is the architecture and all that stuff. So it provides notifications, it monitors, and there is a facility in event management to do some simulation in terms of typically how we simulate in our system, right? If you were ever a part of any support project before, if you get any ticket, L2 support or whatever, then what you do, if you get any ticket and all, you try to recreate that scenario based on some configurations and all that, and then recreate that particular scenario to get the same defect or to get the same issue or to get the same message, error message, which probably has occurred in the production situation, right? So because you want to take you want to see like how are you, I mean, if the production situation it's getting some message, it's popping up, then in your quality system, if it's working fine, then that's no solution. So you need to do some analysis, or rather do some deep dive in terms of trying to simulate it. So that it's not easy, it's pretty hard. It takes time. So it takes time to simulate it. But that is exactly what because this seriousness is very high in event management. Because if for whatever reasons, if in case the status updates give an alarming notification saying that we are not able to trace this vehicle, or we are not able to, or the documentation is not provided, or documentation is not proper, papers are not available, whatever it is. So then you will try to see either whichever way it is. It could be offline simulation, online simulation, and offline checking and all that kind of stuff. So simulation is a very important aspect, more from a system point of view. So that is something which event management has a capability to offer some simulation support. And then control based on certain, as I was telling you, there are some rules which will be followed in this event management process, and by virtue of that, the notifications and all that stuff can be sent based on the way the things are set in the event management configurations and so on and so forth.